Hello everybody, we are here at GoTech, which is the biggest event in Central and Eastern Europe with digital solutions for businesses. Today we are talking with Eric Stab, the CEO of ENGIE Romania, and we are keen to find out more about ENGIE and what it's doing in Romania. Mr. Stab, hello.
Well, hello, thanks for hosting me. I'm delighted to be here with you today. So GoTech is actually a pretty important event, and we're also very happy to take part in this great event here, and to also showcase, of course, what ENGIE is doing. As you probably know, the energy sector is undergoing pretty significant change, actually more changes than we've probably been facing in the last 50 or 100 years, and all this in a very short period of time. So we also have to adapt. We're probably very used to ENGIE, the traditional utility company, but we are less and less a utility company. And what we are trying to become, basically, is the leader of the transition towards a zero carbon economy. We're not there yet. There's still a long way to go, of course. I think the first thing would be to try to achieve a low carbon economy, but zero carbon is also achievable. So this is what we are trying to focus on. And of course, we're also adapting our offer to our customers to this new strategy, this new vision, and with a number of targets also here in the Romanian market.
Okay, so what are the main solutions, the latest solutions that you are presenting here?
Well, what we are presenting here at GoTech is very focused on what I would call B2B customers, less so on the consumer market, so less so on B2C customers. What we are actually showcasing here are solutions around decentralization of energy production, but also decarbonization, because of course one of the ways to move towards a zero carbon economy is to become much greener than we already are. And on this aspect of decarbonization, there are a number of offers that we're focusing on. One is, of course, to have a cleaner production of energy. So we are now also offering to B2B customers here in Romania PV solutions, so mostly rooftop PV, where we build or install photovoltaic panels on rooftops, or also can be ground mounted as well if there is sufficient space. So that's one of the key offers that we're focusing on today, and we already have a few customers in that respect here in Romania. On top of this, as you would have noticed, there's a lot happening in terms of green mobility. So I've seen also walking around the event that there is a strong focus on green mobility everywhere. So we do also focus strongly on developing a green infrastructure, so basically EV charging stations for electric vehicles. But there are also some interesting solutions with compressed natural gas. So we're trying to actually promote both electric vehicles and cars using compressed natural gas. So that's one big area of focus. And the last one, which is, we believe, extremely important, is everything around energy efficiency. Why? Because, as I often say, the cheapest energy is and will always be the one you do not consume.
That is true.
And there is a lot that can still be done in that respect, also in the industrial and commercial sectors. And there as well, there are now many digital solutions that were developed over the last years that can help industrial users, commercial users to decrease their consumption of energy by a better monitoring of it. And that's one big area of focus. And I would add as well another product which is becoming increasingly important to us, which is smart lighting solutions, because you know that public lighting is also using a lot of energy. And ENGIE actually bought recently a company called FlashNet here in Romania, based in Brașov, which is developing both for the Romanian but also for international markets, with already some very nice references abroad, smart solutions to better manage your lighting. So it's basically collectors that you put on your lighting points, which are connected to a software, and where you can dim the light, adjust it to the usage of the road where those lighting points are installed. And that's also, I would say, a very important solution of ours.
How many smart lighting solutions are implemented in Romania, in cities in Romania?
Well, FlashNet did already sell its solution to a number of cities here in Romania. In most cases, it works gradually. You know, it's one pilot project after another, because of course the operators of those networks also want to test them. And now we've installed some in Brașov, in Călăraș, in Cluj. So it is starting. But if we look at what FlashNet, our affiliate, is doing, they're also very successful in the Emirates. They, for instance, installed their solution also in Saudi Arabia, in Mecca. Now they're installing it in a number of cities in Italy. So this is also a big trend for many cities to try to decrease their carbon footprint and, of course, also their energy consumption by installing smarter lighting solutions in their roads, in their streets, everywhere, basically on their squares. And
speaking on electric vehicles, I know you have a network of over 70 electric stations, charging stations in Romania, I think.
Well, we actually, no, I think there are more than that today in Romania. We alone as ENGIE did install over the last 18 months or so around 70 charging points here in Romania. We still have many in the pipeline. By the end of the year, I think we will probably still install 60 to 70 more charging stations here in Romania. So yes, I mean, it is a sector that is developing. It's a bit of a complicated, business. Why? Because there's a bit of a chicken and egg story. Of course, people are not going to buy electric vehicles if they don't have the charging points. And people who are willing to invest in the infrastructure are saying, yes, I'm happy to do so, but we need to have customers who will come and charge. So it develops gradually, but we do expect that probably relatively soon we'll see a big boom. And of course, we want to also be part of this.
How you start them? I mean, this is an economical point for you. It's so far. How are they used? I don't know. 10% of capacity of the time of charging time. 15%.
Well, the ones we've installed are pretty well used. Why? Because of course we're also trying to install them in places where there's a real need. So to give you an example, we have a number of car manufacturers who told us, well, listen, I want to have charging points in my car dealerships.
Yes.
Because for them it's important also to help sell electric cars to customers, to clients here. But at the same time, we also see a number of large employers who say, I also want to do something for the environment. I want to help my employees to basically charge their car when they come to the office on the parking space that you have in the office. So we start to see many customers like this focusing on electric vehicles. And of course, what the car manufacturers tell us as well is, at the end of the day, we want to have more and more people buying electric cars. And the best solution for them is most probably to have a charging point at home. So they're also asking us, can you help us with a bundled and integrated offer to sell charging points, maybe with the associated electricity contract, plus potentially additional services which are starting to develop. We have cases of, for instance, of customers saying, well, I actually would also like to have PV panels on my rooftop with the charging point for my electric car, where you basically can use that also as a battery to store electricity. So there are plenty of pretty smart solutions that are being developed, and Romania is not necessarily the most advanced market in that respect, to be fair, but it's coming. It's coming, and of course we want to be part of that.
How about the public sector? What solutions do you have for the public sector apart from the smart lighting?
Well, electric mobility or green mobility is also a topic for cities, of course, because when you look at, where we produce CO2, where we produce fine particles that are not good for the environment, it's very much in the transportation sector as well. And you have many cities today who say we need to do something for the environment, we need to get smarter gradually, because it's not something that you can do overnight. And they do also adopt green mobility solutions. And there you have mostly today the two options that I was referring to earlier on. One is electric mobility, The other one is CNG, so compressed natural gas. So for instance, we are having discussions with a number of cities today to install compressed natural gas stations there to help them, for instance, develop a greener public transportation fleet, so buses. So you might know that we actually built a CNG station here in Bucharest on Strada Preciziei, where we do have today actually many customers coming to fuel their gas vehicle. Electric mobility is of course also an option. It's actually not necessarily always the best option for buses. For buses, actually, CNG might be a better solution than electric vehicles. Electric vehicles or electric mobility is better for light vehicles, for smaller ones actually. There, of course, we also have cities who say, well, we have a fleet of small vans, small cars. We will gradually switch them to electric. And of course, then you also need to invest into the infrastructure. So that's one aspect that we're working on with cities. It's moving slowly for plenty of reasons.
I remember back I think on the communist era, we usually had in the city, in Bucharest anyway, we had buses with natural gas as fuel. I don't think we have any of that anymore after 1990s.
Today no longer, indeed.
Yeah.
But
how are the public authorities open to that? I mean, the latest buses we bought were diesel.
They're actually all pretty open to it, because they see that this is an expectation coming from their citizens. They see that many other cities also abroad are working on it. So they say, yeah, we also need to do something. Where it becomes difficult is you need to have the money to do so. You need to be able to allocate budgets to such solutions. And that's not always easy, especially at the moment in Romania. So that's also why a number of projects unfortunately tend to be delayed, but the willingness is there. The issue, to be fair as well, that many cities still have is before becoming very smart, they also have to address some of the bare necessities, some of the basic needs of their citizens, where there is still a lot to be done. So for them it's a matter of prioritization, of course, between the more basic things that people expect and those smart and green solutions, which are important as well. I do believe it is important for the cities to keep focusing on this, because if not, they will end up lagging behind other large cities in Europe, and the attractiveness of Romanian cities versus others will, of course, worsen. So that's why I think it is also important that we keep not only talking about it, but also implementing projects.
Which is the best way to do that, to develop an infrastructure? Does it need to be only a public investment, or can it be a public-private? I mean, where you can involve, you can do your part. How is your experience from other big European cities?
In most cases, it's a mix.
Yeah.
Why? Because, of course, cities need to invest as well in critical infrastructure for them, where they need to have the control. I mean, so there it will tend to be a really public project, where, of course, they might need private suppliers to offer them the solution that they're looking for. But at the same time, we also see a number of cities who are saying, well, I actually want to enter a PPP, a public-private partnership, with a private company that will help me, for instance, manage more effectively my public lighting, or that will help me manage more effectively my transportation systems, my parkings, if we have parkings owned by the city, and so on. So we do have those partnerships. It's also true, actually, for thermal rehabilitation of public buildings, where there is also a lot to do. If you walk around Romanian cities, you can easily see that the potential to save energy just by rehabilitating buildings is huge.
Many buildings, at least some of the buildings, office buildings that were made in the last few years, let's say 5 years, are turning green.
True.
More and more green. Do we have solutions for those kind of those buildings to to have a, I don't know, zero print on carbon?
Yes, there are solutions to move towards zero carbon. It's something which is, in most cases, gradual. It's not something that you can achieve overnight. And the first thing that you need to do is to try to assess your carbon footprint. Because if you want to be zero carbon as a building, an office building, a skyscraper or whatever, you first need to know what is the carbon footprint of this building. So it normally starts with an audit. And then after that, the owner of the building will start speaking to partners, suppliers, who can help him come up with solutions that will contribute to transforming this building into a zero carbon building. For that, of course, in many cases, you need some investments. So one of the things I was referring to earlier on is, for instance, using more photovoltaics as a means to produce electricity and even to heat the building. Of course, that is an investment, but this is one way of doing it. Then there's also a question of basically the way you try to absorb some of the CO2 you produce. And this is why you see also in the meantime a number of buildings, green terraces, for instance. So it's basically a combination of investments into better quality equipment and a good design of the building by the architects as well. So basically the building solution providers have to work very closely with the architects and of course also with the property manager or the owner of the building.
How more expensive is a cleaner building than, let's say, an old one?
The question is always a bit difficult to answer because you will tend to have a somewhat higher investment at the beginning, but over time you will end up saving money versus a building that did not use the same materials, the same solutions, because the building that did not use the same solutions would end up over time to pay much more for its energy consumption, for instance. So the investment will tend to be, it's not always the case, it depends how you do it, but the investment will tend to be a bit higher for a really green building. But over time, it is actually a good business case because you save money as well.
Okay, I have one last question. Where do you see us in 2030, let's say, 10 years from now?
Well, I think everybody knows that Romania's got a great potential in many respects. Romania is engaged in a catching up process versus other countries. That's why we also have a GDP growth that is in average higher than in many other Western European countries. So I see Romania still developing at a pretty fast pace. What I hope is that the next 10 years or so will also be used to invest more in infrastructure, in smart infrastructure, in good quality infrastructure, in green infrastructure, that we will all together fight against climate change and against pollution and come up with positive solutions that our citizens, our co-citizens will enjoy. So I think that's what I hope. I think Romania will be able to do it, but there are a few prerequisites. I think we need to fix some of the issues we're facing. One is the pretty heavy bureaucracy. When you are trying to build something, it is a bit of a roller coaster ride or not to say a marathon to get some of the problems sorted. So I think that's something which we need to work on. Romania needs to improve its ability to absorb European funds because there are actually, for all these purposes that I've been describing, very significant amounts of European funds available. And unfortunately, we're not really absorbing them that efficiently yet. So I think that's something to work on. And then Romania should also keep building on its strengths, on its capacity to innovate, on the good people it has who are willing to do positive things for their country, the cities they're living in, many of whom are here today at this GoTech conference.
Okay, Mr. Saab, it was a pleasure to have you here today, and I hope we do that again soon.
Thanks for the invitation, and I was delighted to be with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.